Jesus had been ministering to the crowds for days, teaching them about the kingdom of God and performing miracles. But he knew that his disciples needed something more, a revelation of his divine glory. So, Jesus chose 3 of his closest disciples, Peter, James, and John, and took them aside. "Come with me," he said, leading them up a high mountain. As they climbed, the air grew thinner and the wind picked up. But Jesus pressed on, his eyes fixed on the summit. Finally, they reached the top, where Jesus stopped and raised his hands in prayer. Suddenly, a brilliant light enveloped him, and his appearance changed. His clothes became shining white, and his face glowed with an otherworldly radiance. Peter, James, and John watched in awe as Jesus was transfigured before their eyes. But that was not all. 2 figures appeared beside Jesus, Moses and Elijah, the greatest leaders of the Old Testament. They talked with Jesus, their voices carried away by the wind. Peter, James, and John were stunned. They had never seen anything like this before. Peter, always impulsive, spoke up. "Lord, it's so wonderful here. Let's build 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But Jesus didn't respond. Instead, a cloud overshadowed them, and a voice spoke from within. "This is my beloved Son. Listen to him." The disciples fell to the ground, terrified. When they looked up, the cloud had lifted, and Moses and Elijah were gone. Jesus stood before them, his appearance returned to normal. As they made their way back down the mountain, Jesus instructed them not to tell anyone what they had seen until he had risen from the dead. The disciples nodded, still trying to process the incredible events they had just witnessed. The Transfiguration was a turning point in Jesus' ministry. It was a revelation of his divine glory, a preview of his ultimate triumph over sin and death. And for Peter, James, and John, it was a life-changing experience, one that would stay with them forever.